Hello everyone, welcome back to Roy English Talk. Stop translating in your head. Think in English naturally. If you've ever paused mid-sentence because you were searching for the right word in your native language, you already know how frustrating it feels. What if you could speak English without stopping to translate, just like native speakers do? In this video, I'll show you exactly how to train your brain to think directly in English, step by step, until it becomes completely natural. When you first start learning English, it feels natural to rely on your native language as a crutch. You hear a word in English, you translate it into your language, then you think of the response in your language, and finally, you try to translate it back into English. This process might seem harmless at first, but in reality, it creates a dangerous cycle that slows you down and blocks fluency. Translation is like carrying extra baggage every time you try to speak. Instead of enjoying a smooth, quick conversation, you're weighed down by heavy steps. Think about the last time someone asked you a simple question in English, like, "What did you eat today?" Did your brain automatically understand the meaning and prepare an answer? Or did you quickly translate the words into your native language, build a sentence, and then try to turn it into English? If you did the second one, you probably felt a small delay. That pause is exactly what stops you from sounding natural. Native speakers don't pause like that. They don't translate. They simply think in English. The truth is, your brain is powerful, but it isn't built to handle constant translation in real-time conversations. Scientists have studied this problem. When you translate, your brain is switching between two different systems of language, and this switch takes time and energy. Imagine trying to run a race but stopping every few steps to change shoes. It would make you slower and more tired. That's what happens when you rely on translation. Here's another way to look at it. When you type on your phone in your native language, your fingers move fast. But if someone asked you to switch to a different keyboard layout, where every letter was in a different place, you'd suddenly slow down. You'd have to search for each letter, one by one. That's exactly what happens when you try to build English sentences through translation. You're searching, matching, rearranging. No wonder it feels so hard. Another big issue with translating is accuracy. Languages don't match perfectly. Some words, expressions, or idioms don't exist in your native language at all. For example, think about the English phrase, "It's raining cats and dogs." If you try to translate that literally into another language, it will sound strange, confusing, or even meaningless. The same thing happens when you translate your own expressions into English. They may not carry the same meaning. That's why many learners feel embarrassed when people don't understand them. The problem isn't their knowledge of grammar or vocabulary, it's the habit of translating. Let's break this down even further. When you translate in your head, 3 negative effects occur. Delay in response. You take extra seconds to answer, which makes conversations awkward. Broken flow. Your sentences may sound unnatural because you are thinking in the structure of your own language, not in English. Increased anxiety. You feel nervous while speaking because you're busy working inside your head instead of focusing on the person you're talking to. Now, let's test this together. Imagine someone asks you in English, "What's your favorite hobby?" Don't translate. Just answer in English immediately. If your first thought was in your native language, pause and notice it. That awareness is key. Did you feel how much slower it became when you translated? This small exercise shows how translation sneaks into daily life and slows you down. Here's a story that might sound familiar. A student named Anna had been learning English for nearly 10 years. She could read books, understand grammar exercises, and even write essays. But when she traveled to the US for the first time, she struggled to order food in a restaurant. Why? because every time she wanted to say something, she had to mentally translate from Spanish to English. This made her sound slow and unsure, even though she knew the words. When she finally trained herself to think directly in English, everything changed. She began to speak faster, her confidence grew, and conversations became fun instead of stressful. Anna's experience is not unique. Think about interviews. Many learners know the perfect answers in their own language, but in English, they freeze. They aren't lacking intelligence or preparation. They're stuck in translation mode. Or think about meeting a new friend. You want to sound friendly and natural, but by the time you've finished translating your thoughts, the moment has already passed. Here's another example. Imagine you're in a supermarket in New York, and the cashier casually says, "How's your day going so far?" It's a simple, friendly question, but if you try to translate it, you may panic. Not because you don't know the words, but because you weren't expecting the conversation. You think, wait, how do I say "so far" in my language? By the time you've figured it out, the moment is gone and you feel embarrassed. Why does this happen? Neuroscientists say that bilingual people have two language systems in the brain. When you're translating, both systems are active, and your brain is constantly switching. This switching takes up working memory, the same memory you need to focus on the actual conversation. It's like trying to watch two TV shows at the same time, flipping channels back and forth. You end up missing half the details. Now let's address a curiosity gap. Is it possible to completely stop translating? At first, it sounds impossible. After all, your native language is deeply connected to how you think. But here's the surprising truth. You don't need to erase your native language. You only need to retrain your brain to build new shortcuts. Think of it like upgrading from walking to riding a bike. At first, you may wobble and fall, but with practice, you get faster and more stable. Soon, you can't imagine going back to walking everywhere. The first step is awareness. Many learners don't even realize how often they translate in their head. By noticing this habit, you're already halfway to breaking it. The second step is practice, and that's exactly what we'll cover in the next sections of this video. But before we move on, let's be clear about one thing. Translation is not always bad. In the beginning stages of learning English, translation can be a useful tool to understand meaning. For example, when you first learn the word apple, it's natural to connect it with the word from your native language. However, as you progress, you must let go of this crutch. If you don't, translation becomes a permanent obstacle. So here's a motivational way to see it. Translating is like training wheels on a bike. At first, they help you balance. But if you never remove them, you'll never learn to ride freely. Thinking in English is like riding without those wheels. At first, it's scary, but once you get it, you'll fly. So remember, translating in your head makes you slower, less confident, and less natural. Thinking in English is the only way to reach fluency. The exciting part is, you can absolutely train yourself to do it. And in the next section, we'll define what it really means to think in English and why it's easier than you might believe. Now that we've talked about the problem with translating, let's explore the solution. What it really means to think in English. For many learners, this idea sounds mysterious or even impossible. You might be asking yourself, how can I think in a language that isn't my first? Don't my thoughts naturally come in my mother tongue? That's a very common question. The good news is that thinking in English isn't magic, and it doesn't mean your brain suddenly deletes your native language. Instead, it's about building a new habit of processing information directly in English without relying on translation. Let's start with a simple definition. Thinking in English means using English words, phrases, and mental shortcuts to represent ideas in your mind, instead of going through your native language first. Imagine your brain as a roadmap. If every time you want to speak English, You first take a detour through your native language. That road is longer, slower, and has more traffic. But if you create a direct road from your thoughts to English, you'll get to your destination faster and with less stress. Thinking in English is simply building and using that direct road. Here's a helpful way to picture it. When you're hungry, do you think, "I need to eat" in your own language? Or do you just feel the idea of hunger? Most of the time, you don't put words to the feeling, you just know it. Thinking in English works the same way. Instead of building thoughts in your native language and then searching for English words, you learn to connect ideas and feelings directly to English expressions. Let me give you a practical example. If you see a dog on the street, do you first think of the word in your native language, then translate it into dog? Or can you look at it and immediately recognize it as dog in English? The second one is thinking in English. And the more you practice it, the faster your brain will adopt it. Now, here's a common myth we need to destroy. Thinking in English does not mean thinking in perfect grammar. Many learners believe they must mentally construct long, grammatically correct sentences in English before speaking. But that's not how even native speakers think. When a native speaker has a thought, it's often in simple chunks like hungry now, too hot, or call mom. These thoughts aren't full sentences, they're quick, efficient shortcuts. That's why one of the first steps to thinking in English is to simplify your inner voice. Stop worrying about every grammar rule in your head. Instead, focus on short, clear, natural thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, "I must go to the store because I don't have any bread at home," just think, "No bread. Need store." Over time, this becomes automatic, and when you speak, your brain can easily expand these short thoughts into full sentences. This leads us to a very important mindset shift. Fluency is not about translating perfectly, it's about communicating naturally. If you can get your message across quickly, even with simple words, you're already thinking in English. And once that habit is strong, your vocabulary and grammar will improve naturally through practice. Let's try a quick exercise right now. Imagine you just woke up and you're getting ready for your day. Instead of saying everything in your native language, try to create small English thoughts in your head. Shower first. Coffee ready. Late today. Need bus. Notice how simple these thoughts are? They aren't full sentences, but they're effective. You're already thinking in English. Here's another way to test yourself. Pay attention to your reaction when you hear English around you. For example, imagine someone says, "It's really cold today." Does your brain first translate cold into your own language? Or do you immediately picture the feeling of cold and understand the sentence without translation? If it's the second, congratulations. You're already on your way to thinking in English. And here's the exciting part. You don't need to wait years to reach this stage. You can start today by creating small moments of English thinking. Later in this video, we'll go step by step into daily exercises you can use. But right now, it's important to understand that this skill is built gradually, like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Let me share a short story about a learner named Kenji from Japan. At first, Kenji struggled to speak because every sentence in English had to go through Japanese in his head. But his teacher gave him a simple rule. For the next week, he could only write his to-do list in English. At first, it felt strange. But soon, small thoughts like buy milk or send email became automatic in English. Within a month, he noticed that he was beginning to think in English without even trying. That's how powerful small shifts can be. Another learner, Maria from Brazil, trained herself differently. She used to keep a daily journal in Portuguese, but one day she switched and began writing just 2 sentences a day in English. At first, it was difficult and she felt limited by her vocabulary. but she kept going. Within 3 months, she no longer needed to translate her feelings into Portuguese before writing. She was describing her emotions directly in English. That is exactly what it means to think in English. So, let's recap. Thinking in English is not about perfection, but about speed and directness. About creating shortcuts from ideas to English words. About practicing simple, natural thoughts without translation. And here's the most important thing. Anyone can do it. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country, and you don't need to be advanced. Even if you only know 500 words, you can start thinking in English with those words. For example, if you only know the words food, eat, and hungry, that's enough to start creating small English thoughts in your head. You don't need complicated grammar to begin. You just need consistency. One last example before we close this section. Think about kids. A 3-year-old native speaker doesn't speak with perfect grammar or big words. They say things like, want toy or no sleep. But nobody tells them they aren't fluent. They are communicating naturally. If you can do the same in English, even with simple structures, you are already thinking like a native. Now that you understand what thinking in English really means, you're ready to move on to the practical side. Daily habits that will help you build this ability step by step. That's what we'll cover in the next section. Daily habits for thinking in English. Now that you know what it means to think in English, the big question is, how do you actually train yourself to do it every day? The answer is simple: habits. Just like going to the gym makes your muscles stronger, building small English habits makes your brain quicker and more natural at using English. The key idea here is consistency over intensity. Many learners think they need to study for hours every day, but that's not true. You don't need 5 hours of practice. You need small daily moments where you connect directly with English. If you can do that, you'll gradually stop translating and start thinking naturally. Let's break down some powerful daily habits you can start today. Habit 1. Narrate. Your day in English. One of the easiest ways to train your brain is to talk to yourself in English. Don't worry, you don't have to do it out loud in public. You can do it silently in your head or softly when you're alone. For example, when you wake up, think, I'm getting out of bed. I need water. I feel tired. When you cook, think, cut tomato. Fry onion. Smells good. These short, simple thoughts train your brain to connect actions directly with English words. At first, you might notice your brain trying to translate. That's okay. Just gently push it back and use the English word instead. The more you practice, the faster your brain will choose English naturally. Habit 2. Label your environment. Another habit is to surround yourself with English words. Take sticky notes and write the names of objects around your house. Mirror, door, table, window. Stick them where they belong. Every time you see the object, say the word in English in your mind. This sounds like a small thing, but it's powerful. It forces your brain to create a direct link between the object and the English word, without needing your native language. Over time, you'll stop translating, because table will just feel like table, not a translated word. Habit 3. Use English for daily lists. Every day, we write things down: shopping lists, reminders, to-do lists. Instead of writing them in your native language, write them in English. Even if the words are simple, it makes a big difference. For example, instead of buy bread, eggs, milk, write buy bread. Buy eggs, buy milk. Instead of send email to boss, write email boss today. It's simple, but your brain begins to accept English as a tool for everyday life. Habit 4. Talk to yourself in the mirror. This one might feel strange at first, but it's incredibly effective. Stand in front of a mirror and pretend you're having a conversation with someone. You can say things like, "Hi, how are you?" "I'm fine, thanks. Today I'm going to work. I feel excited. I like this shirt. It looks good on me. Why the mirror?" Because when you see yourself speaking, your brain takes it more seriously. It feels like a real conversation, and you begin to build confidence. Habit 5. Think in English. During routine activities, use boring, everyday moments as your training ground. When you're walking, driving, or waiting for a bus, describe what's around you in English. For example, the sky is blue. The road is empty. A man is running. I see 2 children playing. They are laughing. These micro moments are perfect because they don't require extra time. You're simply turning normal life into practice time. Habit 6. Switch your phone and apps to English. This one is a game changer. Change your phone settings, social media, or even your Google search to English. Suddenly, every day you'll be forced to process small pieces of English naturally. At first, it may feel confusing. But soon, words like settings, update, and notifications will feel automatic. Without even realizing it, you'll be thinking in English dozens of times a day. Habit 7. Practice with inner questions and answers. Throughout the day, ask yourself small questions in English and answer them in English. For example, what time is it? It's 3 o'clock. What do I want to eat? I want pizza. How do I feel? I feel tired. This builds a natural rhythm of self-talk, which is exactly how native speakers think. Habit 8. Use English when making choices. Whenever you make a decision, do it in English. For example, if you're in a store choosing between 2 shirts, think, "This one is cheaper. That one looks better." If you're deciding what to eat, pizza today, salad tomorrow. It may sound small, but your brain is learning to handle real-life decisions in English. Habit 9. Keep a micro-journal in English. Don't worry, you don't need to write long essays. Just write 2 or 3 sentences every night. For example, today was good. I met a friend. Work was hard. I feel tired. The key is consistency. Even short entries help you form the habit of expressing your thoughts directly in English. Habit 10. Celebrate small wins. Finally, reward yourself for small victories. Did you catch yourself thinking in English today, even for 10 seconds? That's a win. Did you write your shopping list in English? Another win. The more you notice and celebrate these small moments, the more motivated you'll feel to keep going. All these habits may seem simple, but together they create a powerful system. The secret is not to try them all at once, but to pick 1 or 2 and practice them every day. Over time, your brain will adjust, and English will start to feel more natural, less like a subject, and more like a tool you use in daily life. And here's the best part. You don't need hours of study. Just a few minutes every day of thinking directly in English will create a huge transformation. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about building momentum, overcoming the fear of mistakes. One of the biggest reasons learners keep translating in their heads instead of thinking directly in English is fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding wrong, fear of being judged. And let me tell you this. If you want to truly think in English, you must change your relationship with mistakes. Here's the truth. Mistakes are not failures. They are signs of progress. Every single mistake you make is proof that you are actively using English. Think about it. If you never make mistakes, that means you're never practicing, never pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. Imagine a child learning to walk. The child falls hundreds of times. Do we ever say, "Oh no, you fell"? You're not good at walking? Of course not. We celebrate every attempt. Each fall is a step toward walking. Language learning is exactly the same. Every mistake you make is your brain learning how to create new pathways in English. But I know what you might be thinking. What if people laugh at me? Here's the reality. Most people won't. Native speakers usually don't care about small mistakes. In fact, they admire your effort because you're speaking a language that isn't your first. Imagine an English speaker trying to speak your native language. Would you laugh at them? Or would you respect them for trying? The answer is obvious. And here's another truth. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. They use the wrong words, forget grammar rules, or even restart their sentences. The difference is that they don't freeze when they make mistakes. They keep going. And that's exactly what you should do. So instead of asking, "What if I make a mistake?" start asking, "What can I learn from this mistake?" That simple shift changes everything. Practical steps to overcome. Fear. Let's go step by step and see how you can train yourself to think in English without fear. Step 1. Redefine mistakes as learning moments. Every time you make a mistake, say to yourself, "This is proof that I'm learning." For example, if you say, "He go to school," and then realize it should be, "He goes to school," don't feel embarrassed. Instead, recognize it as a success. You notice the mistake, which means your brain is learning. Mistakes are not the end of the road. They are road signs showing you the way forward. Step 2. Create safe practice zones. If speaking in public feels scary, start small. Talk to yourself at home. Record voice notes and listen back. Write short texts in English without worrying about grammar. These are safe spaces where nobody is judging you. Once you feel comfortable, you can move to conversations with tutors, friends, or online partners. Confidence grows in private before it shines in public. Step 3. Use imperfect English proudly. Stop aiming for perfect English right away. Instead, focus on communication. If you forget the correct word, use another word you know. If your grammar is shaky, just say what you can. For example, instead of stressing about the phrase, "I'm feeling a little under the weather," you can just say, "I'm sick." It's short, simple, and it communicates the idea. And here's the secret. Communication is the real goal, not perfection. Step 4. Build a mistake journal. This tool is incredibly powerful. Keep a small notebook or even a digital note on your phone. Every time you notice a mistake, write it down along with the correct version. Review it once a week. For example, "She have a car." "She has a car." Soon, you'll stop fearing mistakes because you'll see them as useful lessons you're collecting. Step 5. Focus on progress, not perfection. Instead of asking, "Am I fluent yet?" ask, "Am I improving?" Maybe last week you needed 10 seconds to form a thought in English, and this week you need only 6 seconds. That's progress. Maybe last month you made 20 mistakes in a conversation, and this month you made 15. That's progress. Celebrate it. Fluency doesn't come overnight, but progress happens every day if you pay attention. Step 6. Build a supportive environment. Surround yourself with people who encourage you. Practice with friends, tutors, or online communities where mistakes are treated as natural. Stay away from people who make you feel small for trying. Negativity kills confidence, but encouragement builds it. Language learning is not a solo journey. It's easier when you have people cheering you on. Step 7. Reframe negative thoughts. Your brain can be your biggest enemy or your best friend. If you keep thinking, "I sound stupid," "I'll never be fluent," then fear will grow stronger. Instead, Consciously replace those thoughts with positive ones like, I'm learning. Every mistake makes me stronger. Fluency is built, not born. This mental habit is just as important as practicing vocabulary or grammar. Exercises to kill the fear. Now let's talk about some practical exercises you can do to reprogram your brain. The 5 Mistakes Challenge. Each day, challenge yourself to make at least 5 mistakes in English. That's right, make mistakes on purpose. This rewires your brain to see mistakes as part of the game, not as something to avoid. Record and review. Record yourself speaking for 1 minute every day. Don't try to be perfect. Later, listen to the recording and notice 2 things: what you did well and 1 mistake you want to fix. This builds confidence and self-awareness. Speak without stopping. Set a timer for 30 seconds and talk in English about anything without stopping. Don't worry about grammar. Just keep going. This trains you to speak freely without fear. Stories of overcoming fear. Let me share 2 quick stories. Kenji from Japan used to stay silent in class because he was terrified of saying the wrong thing. His teacher gave him a new rule. He had to make at least 3 mistakes per class. At first it felt strange, but soon he started speaking more. Ironically, the more mistakes he made, the more fluent he became. Maria from Brazil kept a mistake journal. Instead of feeling bad about her errors, she treated them like treasures. Within months, her confidence skyrocketed. She realized mistakes were not proof of weakness. They were proof of growth. These learners didn't become fluent by avoiding mistakes. They became fluent by embracing them. The mindset shift. Here's the 1 sentence I want you to remember. Don't aim to be perfect. Aim to be brave. Perfection comes later. Bravery comes today. Every time you think in English, even if it's messy, you're building fluency. Every time you speak and make a mistake, you're getting stronger. So instead of hiding from mistakes, start chasing them. Collect them. Celebrate them, because each one brings you closer to natural English thinking, training your brain to think faster in English. Up to this point, we've covered what it means to think in English, how to build daily habits, and how to overcome the fear of mistakes. But there's one more challenge: speed. Many learners say, I can think in English, but it's too slow. By the time I find the right words, the conversation has already moved on. If this sounds like you, don't worry, you're not alone. Thinking faster in English is possible, and it comes down to training your brain just like you train a muscle. The truth is, your brain is capable of processing English at high speed. You just haven't trained it to do so yet. So let's explore strategies and exercises that will help you think quicker, sharper, and more confidently. Step 1. Stop chasing perfect grammar. While thinking. One of the biggest reasons learners are slow is that they try to build perfect sentences in their heads. But guess what? Native speakers don't do that. Their thoughts are fast and messy, like, hungry now, call mom, or too late. Only when they speak out loud do they organize those thoughts into full sentences. So if you want to speed up, stop trying to build long, perfect sentences in your head. Train yourself to think in short, simple English chunks. Over time, your brain will naturally expand those chunks into sentences when needed. Step 2. Use time pressure exercises. One of the best ways to train speed is to practice under time pressure. For example, set a timer for 30 seconds and talk about your day in English without stopping. Don't worry about grammar. Just keep going. Another exercise. Look around the room and describe as many objects as you can in 20 seconds. Table, chair, window, book, phone, light, door. This forces your brain to react quickly instead of pausing to translate. Time pressure training is like sprinting for your brain. It builds speed and agility. Step 3. Practice word substitution. Often, slowness happens when you forget a word and freeze. The solution? Train your brain to replace the missing word with another one you already know. For example, if you forget the word refrigerator, just say big cold box. If you forget ceiling, say top of the room. This keeps your brain moving forward instead of stuck. Over time, this skill will make your English much faster and more natural. Step 4. Shadowing technique. Shadowing is when you listen to native English audio and try to speak at the same time, like a shadow following the speaker. It could be a YouTube video, podcast, or movie clip. At first, you won't understand everything, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's speed. By forcing your mouth and brain to keep up, you train your thinking to be quicker and more automatic. Even 5 minutes of shadowing every day can make a huge difference in your speed. Step 5. Rapid question and answer. Drills find a list of simple questions like, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your favorite food? Then answer them as fast as you can without thinking too much. You can practice alone, with a partner, or even using apps. The faster you train your brain to respond, the more natural thinking in English will feel. Step 6. Read and react. Take a short article or even a few sentences from a book. Read a line, then quickly react to it in English with your thoughts. For example, if the sentence is, "The weather was terrible," you might react, "Yeah, rainy days make me tired." The point is to practice quick reactions instead of long translations. Step 7. Train with real life scenarios. Put yourself in imaginary situations and force your brain to react quickly. For example, you're at a restaurant and the waiter asks, "What would you like to drink?" Immediately think, "Water, please." You're late for work and someone asks, "Why are you late?" Quickly think, "Traffic was bad." These mini scenarios prepare your brain for real conversations, so you don't freeze when the moment comes. Step 8. Use speed games. There are many fun games you can play to build English speed. For example, word association. Say a word, then immediately say the first word that comes to mind in English. Apple, red, fruit, juice, breakfast, 20 questions. Pick an object and try to describe it quickly with yes/no answers. These games force your brain to work fast and in English only. Step 9. Train listening speed. Thinking faster also comes from listening faster. Expose yourself to natural English, podcasts, YouTube videos, movies. At first, it might feel too fast. That's normal. Don't translate. Just let the sounds flow into your brain. Over time, your brain will get used to processing English at native speed, which makes your responses faster too. Step 10. Daily speed routine. Here's a simple 5-minute routine you can practice daily. Look around your room and describe 5 objects in English quickly. Answer 3 easy questions in English as fast as possible. Do 1 minute of shadowing with a podcast or video. That's it. Just 5 minutes. If you do this every day, your brain will get faster week by week. Story. Ahmed's transformation. Ahmed from Egypt used to take 10 seconds to respond to a simple English question because he was translating in his head. He started practicing speed drills, 30-second self-talks, shadowing daily, and quick Q&A sessions. After 3 months, he was answering instantly. His fluency didn't just improve, His confidence skyrocketed. The lesson? Thinking fast in English isn't a natural talent. It's a skill you build with consistent practice. Final mindset for speed. Here's what you need to remember. Speed comes from practice, not from waiting. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll always be slow. But if you push yourself to react quickly, even if it feels messy, you'll train your brain to think faster in English. So stop waiting for the perfect word or the perfect grammar. Start reacting, start practicing speed, and you'll see your English thinking transform. Expanding vocabulary. Naturally. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I can build habits, I can overcome fear, and I can even train for speed. But what about vocabulary? How can I think in English if I don't know enough words? That's a great question, and here's the good news. You don't need thousands of complicated words to think in English. In fact, studies show that the 1,000 most common words in English cover about 85% of everyday conversations. That means you can express most of your daily thoughts with a surprisingly small set of words. So instead of memorizing long, boring lists, you need to focus on learning vocabulary naturally, through context, repetition, and real use. Let's break this down. Step 1. Learn words in context, not isolation. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is memorizing random word lists: apple, democracy, infrastructure, obligation. The problem is, when you learn words this way, your brain doesn't know how to use them. Instead, learn words in real context. For example, instead of just learning the word hungry, learn it in a phrase like, I'm hungry. Instead of just rain, learn, it's raining. Why does this work? Because your brain remembers patterns, not isolated words. When you learn words in context, you're learning how to think with them, not just recognize them. Step 2. Use the 80-20 rule. Focus on the words and phrases you actually need. For example, if you're a student, learn words related to school: exam, homework, professor, deadline. If you work in business, focus on words like meeting, project, deadline, budget. Don't waste time learning words you'll never use in your daily life. Start with the vocabulary that connects directly to your world. Step 3. Active use, not passive learning. It's not enough to know a word. You have to use it. Every time you learn a new word, try to use it in a sentence, in your self-talk, or in your journal. For example, if you learn the word delicious, don't just memorize it. Next time you eat something tasty, think, this pizza is delicious. Use it in real life. The more you use a word, the faster it becomes part of your natural English thinking. Step 4. Build word families. Instead of learning one word at a time, learn related words together. For example, if you learn happy, also learn happiness, unhappy, and happily. This gives your brain a network of words, so you can express yourself more flexibly. This also makes you faster because you'll have more options when thinking in English. Step 5. Use English definitions. When you learn new words, stop translating them into your native language. Instead, use simple English definitions. For example, instead of translating bookstore into your language, just define it as a place where you buy books. This builds the habit of connecting words directly to ideas, not translations. Over time, your thinking becomes 100% English. Step 6. Connect words to images and feelings. Your brain loves images. When you learn a new word, connect it to a picture or a feeling. For example, if you learn sunset, imagine the sky turning orange. If you learn excited, remember the feeling before a big event. This makes vocabulary stick in your memory much longer, and it helps you recall words faster when thinking in English. Step 7. Learn collocations, not just words. Native speakers rarely use words alone. They use them in combinations. For example, we don't say do a mistake, we say make a mistake. We don't say strong. Rain, we say heavy rain. Learning these word partnerships, called collocations, makes your English sound more natural and helps you think in ready-made phrases instead of building sentences, word by word. Step 8. Read and listen. To Real English Daily. The best way to expand vocabulary naturally is through input. Read books, watch movies, listen to podcasts. Don't try to understand every single word. Focus on the general meaning. Over time, your brain will start to recognize patterns, and new words will stick naturally. The key is exposure, seeing words in different contexts until they become familiar. Step 9. Personalize your vocabulary. Make new words personal. For example, if you learn the word goal, write a sentence about your life. My goal is to learn English. If you learn adventure, write, I want to go on an adventure in the mountains. When vocabulary connects to your life, it becomes meaningful, and your brain remembers it much better. Step 10. Create a daily vocabulary routine. Here's a simple routine to follow every day. Learn 3 to 5 new words in context. Write one sentence for each word about your life. Use those words in your self-talk or journal. Review them at the end of the day. That's it. Just a few words every day, used actively, will build a strong vocabulary over time. Story. Lena's vocabulary growth. Lena from Mexico used to memorize word lists and forget them within a week. She changed her method. Every time she learned a new word, she used it in her journal and in daily conversations with herself. For example, when she learned proud, she wrote, I feel proud because I studied today. Within months, her vocabulary doubled, not because she studied harder, but because she used words in real life. Final mindset for vocabulary. Here's the key idea. Don't memorize words. Live with them. When you use new words in your daily thoughts, feelings, and routines, they stop being foreign and start being part of your natural English thinking. So remember, it's not about learning more words. It's about using the right words in real situations, again and again, until they become part of you. Real-life scenarios to practice thinking in English. We've talked about habits, mindset, speed, and vocabulary. But here's the real challenge. How do you put it all together? How do you practice thinking in English when you're not living in an English-speaking country? The answer is simple. Create your own English environment through real-life scenarios. Even if you never leave your country, you can train your brain to live in English by imagining daily situations and practicing how you would think and respond. This kind of mental simulation is powerful because your brain can't fully tell the difference between imagining a scenario and actually experiencing it. So let's go through some practical, everyday examples you can use. Scenario 1. Ordering food at a restaurant. Imagine you walk into a restaurant in New York. The waiter comes and says, "Hi, what would you like to drink?" Instead of translating in your head, respond instantly, "Water, please," or "I'd like orange juice." Then when they ask, "Are you ready to order?" you think, "Yes, I'd like a cheeseburger with fries." Practicing these simple exchanges helps you prepare for real conversations and builds confidence in daily English. Scenario 2. Shopping at the store. You're in a supermarket and you can't find the milk. Instead of translating, think, "Excuse me, where is the milk?" Or, "Do you have fresh bread today?" This type of practice builds automatic responses you'll use again and again in real life. Scenario 3. At the airport, you're checking in for a flight. The staff asks, "Can I see your passport?" You respond in your mind, "Here you go." When they ask, "Do you have any bags to check in?" You think, "Yes, one suitcase." Airports are full of routine conversations. Perfect practice for English thinking. Scenario 4. Meeting someone new. Imagine you're at a party, and someone says, "Hi, what's your name?" You respond quickly, "My name's Anna. Nice to meet you." Then they ask, "Where are you from?" You say, "I'm from Brazil." By practicing these introductions in your head, you prepare yourself to speak naturally in real social settings. Scenario 5. At work or school. If you're working in an office, imagine a colleague asks, "Can you help me with this report?" Respond, "Sure, give me 10 minutes. If you're in school and the teacher says, "What's the answer to number 3? Think, the answer is 24. Even if your daily life isn't in English, you can rehearse these scenarios and train your brain to think like it is. Scenario 6. Asking for directions. You're walking in a new city and you're lost. Imagine asking someone, "Excuse me, how do I get to the train station?" And imagine hearing the reply, "Go straight, then turn left." These mini scenarios make you ready for real travel experiences. Scenario 7. Daily routines at home. You don't even need other people for practice. You can create scenarios from your own life. For example, when you wake up, think, "I'm going to brush my teeth." When cooking, think, "I'm boiling water for pasta." Every small action can become an English thought. Scenario 8. Emergency situations. It's also useful to practice rare but important scenarios. For example, if you're at a hospital and need help, you can think, "I need a doctor," or "I'm not feeling well." These simple sentences could be crucial, and practicing them makes you feel safe and prepared. Scenario 9. Online conversations. Even if you don't live in the US, you can simulate English interactions online. Join an English-speaking forum or a study group. Pretend someone asks, "What do you think about this topic?" Respond in your head before writing. "In my opinion, it's important because..." This trains both your written and spoken thinking in English. Scenario 10. Fun and entertainment. Finally, practice in fun situations. Imagine you're at the movies buying a ticket. "One ticket for Spider-Man, please." Or at a cafe. "Can I get a latte with almond milk?" The more fun you make it, the easier it becomes to practice daily. How to practice these scenarios. Here's a simple way to use these exercises. Choose one scenario per day. Imagine the dialogue in English from both sides. Speak your answers out loud if possible. Repeat the scenario until it feels natural. Within weeks, you'll start noticing that when real situations happen, your brain already knows what to say without translation. Story. Raj's simulation practice. Raj from India had never traveled abroad, but he practiced English scenarios every day at home. He would imagine himself at restaurants, airports, and offices, always rehearsing responses. Months later, when he finally visited the US, he was surprised. Many of the conversations were exactly like the ones he practiced. He didn't need to translate. His responses came naturally. This is the power of scenario practice. It prepares your brain for reality before you face it. Final mindset for scenarios. Here's what I want you to remember. If you can imagine it, you can prepare for it. By practicing daily life in English, you turn your mind into an English-speaking environment, even if you live thousands of miles away from the U.S. The more you practice scenarios, the less you'll need to translate, and the more naturally English thoughts will flow. Building your English thinking system. We've gone through the principles, the habits, the speed drills, the vocabulary strategies, and the real-life scenarios. But here's the big question. How do you put all of this into a system you can follow every single day? Because let's be honest, learning English isn't just about motivation. Motivation is powerful, but it comes and goes. What really matters is consistency. A daily system keeps you moving forward, even when you don't feel like it. So let's build your English thinking system step by step. Step 1. Set a clear goal. First, decide why you want to think in English. Do you want to study in the U.S., work for an international company, travel confidently, or just enjoy movies without subtitles? Write down your goal. This will give you direction and motivation. For example, I want to think in English so I can get a job at an American company. I want to stop translating so I can speak freely when I travel. Clarity creates focus. Step 2. Design your daily routine. Now, choose specific activities for each day. Keep it simple but consistent. For example, here's a 20-minute routine. Self-talk, 5 minutes. Talk to yourself about your day in English. Vocabulary practice, 5 minutes. Use 3 to 5 new words in sentences. Speed training, 5 minutes. Do a quick drill, shadowing, time description, or Q&A. Scenario practice, 5 minutes. Imagine a real-life situation in English. That's it. Just 20 minutes a day can completely transform your English thinking in a few months. Step 3. Track your progress. Don't just practice, measure your improvement. Keep a notebook or a digital journal where you record what you practiced each day. For example, Monday, self-talk about my breakfast. Practiced 3 new words, shadowed a podcast. Tuesday, practiced restaurant scenario, used 4 new words, did word substitution exercise. Tracking makes you feel accomplished and helps you stay motivated. Step 4. Use weekly themes. To avoid boredom, give each week a theme. For example, Week 1, food and cooking. Week 2, travel and airports. Week 3, work and business. Week 4, friends and hobbies. This way, your practice covers different areas of life, and you build vocabulary naturally within context. Step 5. Mix input and output. Remember, thinking in English requires both input, listening, reading, and output, speaking, writing. Balance them in your system. For input, listen to podcasts, watch shows, read articles. For output, do self-talk, journaling, or conversation practice. Your brain needs both directions to create a strong English environment. Step 6. Build accountability. It's easy to skip practice if no one is watching. That's why accountability is key. You can find a study partner and check in daily. Post about your practice on social media. Join an English learning community. When you know someone is watching, you're more likely to stay consistent. Step 7. Reward yourself. Make your system fun. After completing a week of practice, reward yourself with something small, a treat, a movie night, or extra free time. Rewards train your brain to associate English practice with positive feelings. Step 8. Adjust when needed. Your system doesn't have to be perfect from day one. If something feels boring, change it. If you're too busy, shorten the routine. The most important thing is to keep practicing, even if the format changes. Think of your English system like a workout plan. It should challenge you, but it should also fit your lifestyle. Step 9. Review and reflect monthly. At the end of each month, look back at your journal. Ask yourself, am I thinking faster in English than last month? Am I translating less? Am I using more vocabulary naturally? This reflection shows you how much progress you've made and reminds you that consistency really works. Step 10. Make it part of your identity. The final step is the most powerful. Stop thinking of English as just a subject you study. Instead, make it part of who you are. Tell yourself, I am someone who thinks in English. English is part of my daily life. When English becomes part of your identity, your brain will naturally look for ways to practice it without effort. Story: Julia's system. Julia from Poland wanted to stop translating in her head, but she always got stuck. So she built her own English thinking system: 15 minutes of daily self-talk, 5 minutes of speed practice, and 5 minutes of vocabulary journaling. At first, it felt strange. But after 90 days, she noticed something amazing. She wasn't translating anymore. English thoughts came automatically. And the best part? She only needed 25 minutes a day. Her secret wasn't magic. It was consistency. Final mindset for your system. Here's the key idea. Small daily actions are more powerful than big, irregular efforts. You don't need to study for hours. You just need a system, a routine you follow every day that keeps you practicing, building, and thinking in English. So don't wait for motivation. Build your system, stick to it, and watch your English thinking become second nature. We've come a long way in this video. Let's take a moment to look back at the journey we've traveled together. At the very beginning, I told you the secret. If you want to think in English, you must stop translating in your head. That's the hook we started with, and now you know exactly how to make it happen. We talked about why translating slows you down and why direct English thinking is the key to fluency. You learned about daily habits like self-talk, journaling, and building micro-immersion, which slowly rewire your brain to operate in English. We discussed fear of mistakes, that big enemy holding millions of learners back, and we replaced it with a new mindset. Mistakes are proof of progress, not failure. Then we moved into speed training, how to think faster using shadowing, time pressure drills, word substitution, and reaction exercises. You discovered that fluency isn't about waiting for perfect words. It's about responding quickly and naturally. We also went deep into vocabulary growth, not memorizing lists, but learning words in context, using them in daily life, and building word families and collocations. You now know that vocabulary grows strongest when it's connected to your life, your emotions, and your thoughts. After that, we practiced real-life scenarios, ordering food, shopping, traveling, meeting new people, and handling emergencies. By rehearsing these situations, you're preparing your brain for real conversations. So when the time comes, you won't freeze. And then we built something powerful. Your English thinking system. A simple daily plan that combines habits, speed training, vocabulary, and scenarios into one consistent routine. This system is your roadmap. It's how you turn all of this knowledge into real transformation. Closing the curiosity gaps. Do you remember the questions from the introduction? Why do I always translate in my head? Because your brain is stuck in its native language patterns, and we've now learned how to break those patterns. How do I train my brain to think directly in English? Through habits, scenarios, and daily practice, the system we built together. How can I make English feel natural, not forced? By using context, imagination, and consistency until English becomes part of your daily identity, every gap is now answered. You've got the full roadmap. Your transformation starts now. But here's the truth. Watching this video alone won't change your English. What will change it is action. If you take even 10 minutes a day to practice what we talked about, your brain will start to rewire itself. At first, you'll notice small changes. You'll catch yourself thinking in English for a second or two. Then longer thoughts. Then entire conversations. Step by step, English will stop being something you study and become something you live. Remember, consistency beats intensity. It's not about studying for hours once a week. It's about showing up every day, even for a few minutes. Your call to action. So here's what I want you to do right now. Choose one habit from this video. Maybe self-talk, maybe shadowing, maybe a scenario. Practice it today. Not tomorrow, today. Then come back and share your progress. Tell me in the comments. Today, I practiced thinking in English by... Your story could inspire someone else to keep going. And of course, if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. That way, you won't miss the next lessons where we'll dive even deeper into practical English fluency. Final words of encouragement. Let me leave you with this. Thinking in English is not a dream. It's a skill. And like every skill, it comes from practice, not perfection. Every time you choose English over translation, every time you practice even a little, you're training your brain. You're moving closer to the day when English flows as naturally as your first language. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start today. Start small. Stay consistent. And I promise you, your English will transform faster than you think. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm proud of the steps you're taking. Keep practicing, keep growing, and remember, you're not just learning English, you're becoming someone who thinks in English. Now go practice, and I'll see you in the next video.